Masimbulele, thank you for talking to me. So talk to me about the services, the counseling services that you will be offering in this context of a nationwide lockdown. How important is it that there's psychological services? What's that gap that you identified as the Uyinene Mrwetyana Foundation?
Thank you so much for having me. As a foundation, like you said, we saw a gap because of the lockdown, and because we know that some of us are in lockdown with our perpetrators and abusers, and so we don't have the privilege of having a safe lockdown. And so as a foundation, we thought as an aim to close that gap, we thought let's create an online psychological service where people can reach us, ask questions. But the main point of the online psychological service is to also share information. So what structures are there that are available for people to reach and ask for help?
So what happens when someone calls through to one of your lines, or perhaps reaches out for you online and perhaps wants to talk about a situation that they face? Who do they reach?
Okay, so on our website, which is the Uyinene Mrwetyana Foundation website, there is a link that pops up when you visit the page, and you can just send a direct message to that link, and a psychologist is there on the other side from 9 until 4. However, we are present after 4 as well for any information or questions that come after 4. And what happens is that you send a message, and depending on what that message is, we're able to respond, and we're able to talk to you through your situation. Or if you have any question, we are able to respond to those questions. So we have psychologists, qualified psychologists on rotation basis that are waiting to communicate and to share that information.
Is there a particular category of people that this is targeted at? I mean, the whole issue of women abuse in this country is the permanent epidemic that we are permanently seized with and always facing, and I don't think I need to reiterate that. But you know, is there a particular category of South African that this is targeted at, perhaps in terms of their socio-economic standing, or, you know, in terms of where they are in relation to being stuck during the lockdown with, as you say, someone who is a perpetrator in their lives?
Yes. As a foundation, our goal is to reach out to the vulnerable, especially those that are affected by gender-based violence. And of course, we are facing a bit of a challenge in terms of accessibility to this service. So we do realize that a majority of South Africans are unable to access internet services or to communicate with us through emails and such. And so that is why for this particular month, we have decided to launch an online campaign to make sure that we are visible on social media, and with the hopes that people that have Facebook or people that have Twitter and Instagram can reach out to us and we can be of help. However, we're also wanting to make use of telecommunication structures as well, including radio and interviews such as these. And so our hopes is that we reach a far range of people, but specifically we're looking for people, or we are looking to assist people that are affected by gender-based violence. However, we are open to the wider South Africa.
And of course, you're doing this in a significant month, right? Because this would have been the birth month of the late Uyinene Mrwetyana. Tell me about that work to preserve her legacy, a legacy that part of which in death sort of confronted South Africa with the reality of the abuse of women in this particular country, and sort of galvanized, at least for a period of time, sadly, because of course sometimes we don't sustain some of these campaigns, but of course some people are moved into sustainable work like you have done. Talk to me about the significance of doing this in the month which would have been Uyinene Mrwetyana's birth month.
Yes. as a foundation, we were actually very excited for this month. We still are. We aimed at celebrating a life lived. As a foundation, our mission is to move past having to make all of this about the incident. So we are focused on more of celebrating a life lived and also lending a helping hand. And so this month we had planned on launching our very first event in celebration of her life. Her birthday would have been, or is, on the 20th of April, and we had planned on having an event, our first event in Cape Town. However, in compliance with the lockdown, we were unable to continue with that event. For us, it is a very significant month for us as a foundation, and we aim to use every opportunity that we have to make sure that our vision is reached, which is seeing a society that is free of gender-based violence. And however we can help to use the existing structures that are already available in the society to make sure that that vision is fulfilled.
All right, thank you for that. Masimbulele Buso, a counseling psychologist at the Uyinene Mrwetyana Foundation, telling us there about the work that they are doing at the moment during the lockdown while we respond to this outbreak that is called COVID-19, to also respond to the other permanent, sadly, permanent outbreak in this country.